Hello, friends. Welcome back to English Classes Online. I am Benjamin. Today's video is about English grammar. How good is your grammar? That is a very important question, and that is the focus of today's video. If you are new to this channel, kindly subscribe to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. You will find a red button tagged subscribe. Just click on it, and that is all that is required. If you click on the bell icon as well, you will receive notifications whenever new videos are uploaded on this channel. The beauty of subscription is that it is free, and it is also something that will give you free access to all the videos we upload on this channel. Having said that, let's dive into the lesson right away. So we are looking at this very important question in English learning: how good is your grammar? And our focus is on how to improve your English grammar. What is grammar to start with? Grammar can be defined as the rules governing the use of language. Every language is governed by a set of rules, and your knowledge of those rules is what constitutes your personal grammar. Grammar includes the way words are arranged in a sentence, as well as the rules about how to use them. Grammar also includes rules for spelling, punctuation, and capitalization. Well, in a very simple way, we can say that grammar is how you connect words and phrases, how you connect words into phrases and phrases into sentences. Well, there are various ways of looking at grammar. Let's look at them. Various ways of looking at grammar. Now, we can see here what is grammar, and one way of looking at it is that grammar is a set of rules for forming the words and arranging the words in a sentence in the correct order to convey the complete and correct meaning. That's one way of looking at grammar. And of course, when we look at it this way, we are not far from the truth, because the largest unit of grammar is the sentence, and when we speak or write, we communicate our ideas within the sentence structure. And a sentence can be defined as a group of words that contains a finite verb and expresses a complete thought. So we communicate our ideas through the sentence. So in that sense, that's a correct way of looking at grammar. Then the second one is, what is grammar? A set of rules and principles to speak and write a language in a correct manner. Of course, we are saying something similar to what we earlier said. Grammar is, a set of rules that govern the use of a language. So the word grammar derives from the Greek word grammatic, which means art of letters. Grammar is also called the backbone of the language. Of course, you won't be surprised that we are devoting this video to talking about grammar. It is really important that we do that. Now let's look at other ways, what is grammar? And here we are looking at, another perspective, which is not far from what we have earlier seen. Dictionary defines grammar as the rules by which words change their forms and are combined in other senses. English grammar is the body of rules that describe the structure of expressions in the English language. This includes the structure of words, phrases, clauses, and sentences. Now, what I intend to do in this video is to broaden your horizon, to give you, you know, adequate information about what grammar is, so that you can appreciate not just the importance of grammar, but also explore ways of improving your grammar of English. Now, let's look at the second one here. What is grammar? Grammar, the system of rules pertaining to the sentences of a language. Well, let's look at it more. Let me do some adjustments here so we can see it quite clearly. All right. Okay. Grammar, the system of rules pertaining to how the sentences of a language are constructed. Of course, that's one aspect of looking at grammar, the system of rules pertaining to how the sentences of a language are constructed. I remember a notable American grammarian or grammatical theorist, if you like, by name Noam Chomsky. You know, it's notable for what a lot of people call the Chomskyan grammatical theory. Of course, he propagated the transformative regenerative grammar, you know, transformational regenerative grammar, if I have gotten it quite right. All right, so now he said that language is creative to the extent that a competent user of a language has the innate capacity to generate unlimited number of sentences, you know. So, and that is really true. When you acquire a particular language or when you learn a language, you know, then you acquire the innate ability to construct sentences, you know. So, and that is exactly what the perspective we're looking at here, that grammar is the system of rules pertaining to how sentences of a language are constructed. Then we have, you know, different approaches. The prescriptive grammarians, you know, especially the traditional grammatical theorists, they consider grammar to be a set of rules for the proper use of language. So if you break these rules, you are speaking or writing incorrectly. We're looking at the prescriptive grammarians, you know. But then we have a second set of grammarians called the descriptive grammarians. They describe grammar as it is used by actual speakers of a language. Their opinion is that you do not judge language to be correct or incorrect. Well, when you look at it from that perspective, you discover that, of course, that is the trend, because language evolves, you know, and sometimes what was considered incorrect usage quite long ago has over time become accepted, and some of these expressions that were hitherto considered incorrect have been incorporated into the lexicon, you know, because language is about what has been accepted as a means of communication. So, but this video is not a video for going into these big grammatical terminologies and arguments and scholarly postulations. Today we want to look at how to improve our grammar of the English language, and that's the simple purpose of this video. So let's proceed. Now that brings us to the important question, what's your personal grammar of English? You know, this question may sound strange to a lot of people who do not know that every user of a language has his or her personal grammar of that language. Your personal grammar of English is your knowledge of the rules that govern the use of the English language. That is your personal grammar. Your grammar of English can be good or poor or bad, if you like, depending on your level of knowledge about how the language works. All right, and that is the purpose of this video, to actually give you an overview of what grammar is about, and also sensitize you towards the fact that you have your personal grammar of the English language. You know, once you are using that language, you have your grammar of that language. But the question is, how good is your grammar? You know, if your knowledge of the rules governing the language or how the language works is inadequate, then your grammar of the language is inadequate. And when you speak or write, you commit grammatical errors here and there. To improve the way we use English language, we need to improve our grammar of the English language. Now let's examine why grammar is important. That is also another very important thing to look at, because a lot of people will, with a wave of the hand, tell you that grammar is not important, that it's not important to study grammar. Why should we waste our time, studying grammar? Well, I think arguments like that stem from ignorance of the importance of grammar. But today, let's face the fact. Why is grammar really important? Why study grammar? Well, let's look at it. Knowledge of grammar facilitates language learning. Of course, that's one. A lot of people desire to learn the English language. And why do you learn the English language? In my country, English is the official language, is the language of communication, because we have a large country, with multiple ethnic groups and linguistic groups as well. And so we use English as a lingua franca in my country. And so English is the language of politics, the language of government, the language of commerce, the language of education, is the medium of instruction in schools, colleges, and universities. And so who says that English is not important? And if grammar is the backbone of a language, then you can appreciate the fact that it is important to learn about grammar. Now, knowledge of grammar facilitates language learning. When you learn the grammar of the language, of course, it facilitates your understanding of the language. So that is why grammar is important. Then the second thing mentioned here, all right, is that it helps understand texts in English, all right? Knowing the grammar of the English language, helps you to understand texts. If you are a lawyer, you need to read the law in English, understand what it is all about. Otherwise, you won't bring any cogent arguments, any convincing arguments in a court of law. If you're a businessman, from time to time, you need to communicate your ideas, your requests, your order, your price list, your proposals to your business partners or people you want to buy from or sell to. And in communicating your ideas in English, and also when you get documents from other people, you need to understand what it is about. Grammar helps you to understand text in English. If you are a student, you need to understand the text in the various subjects that you are studying. Of course, grammar is very important. You know, language takes place in context. The meanings we construct in using language are strictly linked to both cultural and situational context in which language is used. And language is really what sets mankind apart from animals, because humans communicate with language. And so you can't get things done meaningfully without communicating your idea in one form or the other. And language is the vehicle. You know, language is what you need to communicate your ideas. And if grammar is the backbone of a language, then it is important to study grammar. Well, let's go ahead to look at other reasons why grammar is important. Why grammar is important? One, your grammar is a reflection of your image. That's what this scholar is talking about Jeffrey Getomer, right? Your grammar is a reflection of your image. Good or bad, you have made an impression. And like all impressions, you are in total control, you know? So this scholar is saying that your grammar is a reflection of your image. That, I believe, completely, because, you know, when you communicate your ideas, people listen to you. And if you do not communicate your ideas with clarity, of course, you create a bad impression, you create a wrong impression. So your grammar is a reflection of your image. If your grammar is bad, it gives a bad image of you. If your grammar is good, it gives a good image of you. So grammar enables you to create positive impression, to make positive impact on your listeners, those who listen to you. Well, if you are vying for an office as lofty as the presidency of a country, people want to listen to you. And of course, they make their decision based on the impression they have of you. So your grammar is a reflection of your image, and really because it helps you to articulate your ideas and communicate them to your listeners. Let's go a step further. Why grammar is important too. All right? Grammar, good grammar costs nothing, but bad grammar can cost you a lot more than money. Do you agree? Well, I leave this to your judgment. I want you to figure out why bad grammar can cost you a lot more than money. You know, there are many ways, cost you a lot, bad grammar. When you lose goodwill, you lose patronage, you know, and that is what bad grammar can cost you, you know. Good grammar costs nothing. When you learn and improve your grammar and you have good grammar, of course, it doesn't cost you much to improve your grammar. But then it can make a whole world of difference in the way people perceive you when you speak and when you write. All right? So it's really very, very important that you understand how important grammar really is. Why grammar is important? 3. All right, let's look at it. Good English, well spoken, and well written will open more doors than a college degree. Do you agree? Bad English will slam doors you didn't even know existed. This is from William Raspberry. All right? And this is taken from Grammarly quotes. William Raspberry. He said, good English, well spoken, and well written will open more doors than a college degree. Bad English will slam doors you didn't even know existed. Well, do you agree with William Raspberry? He is talking about how important grammar really is, and he believes that grammar is important. Do you believe? I expect your comments in the description section below. Whether you agree with William Raspberry or you do not agree, I would like to know your view, to get your own view on this. What is your take? So let's go further, still exploring the importance of grammar. Why grammar is important for? Now, this is from a particular scholar, though not really stated here. Then there are 2 sentences here. The first sentence is, let's eat grandpa. Did that sound horrible in your ears? Let's eat grandpa. That gives you the picture of a cannibal, right? Someone from, the, who could be described as a savage, or if you like. How on earth could you decide to eat grandpa? Let's eat grandpa, all right? But then, the reason we have this very horrible perception of this expression is simply the omission of a comma, which of course is an aspect of grammar. Getting your written sentences well punctuated conveys the right meaning. The omission of an important punctuation mark can distort meaning completely, just like the first sentence we have looked at here. Let's say this is sentence number 1. Let's eat grandpa. Then sentence number 2. Let's eat grandpa. You can see, because of a comma that, enables you to pause before mentioning grandpa, of course, you convey the right meaning. Instead of saying, let's eat grandpa, you are saying, let's eat grandpa. In the second sentence, you are addressing grandpa and asking him to, to eat with you, that both of you should eat, not that you are going to eat grandpa. So that's how, how important grammar is, because poor grammar can convey the wrong meaning and even lead to tragedies in some cases. Because if you say, let's eat grandpa, and you are you have other grandchildren listening to you, of course you offend their sensibilities. They, they won't fold their hands and watch you eat grandpa. They will fight, all right, to defend grandpa. So that's how bad grammar can be. And so the scholar here has made a comment that that punctuation saves lives. All right, punctuation saves lives, because whereas the first sentence is, uh, giving a uh, very dangerous proposal, the second sentence is simply addressing grandpa with politeness and making a polite offer as well. Okay, so let's get to look at other uh, reasons why grammar is important. Why grammar is important? 5. And here we have a quotation from Grammarly. The attractiveness of correct grammar cannot be overstated. See, that's the opinion of Grammarly. The attractiveness of correct grammar cannot be overstated. Do you really agree? I personally agree with this assertion, and that is why I'm devoting this video to talking about grammar. How good is your grammar? And then sensitizing you towards taking the right steps to improve your grammar of the English language. Now let's look at the next. All right. Here we have why grammar is important. 6. Why study grammar? Grammar in the English language is used to help us break down and understand the way we use the language. That's one aspect of grammar that is being talked about here. That grammar in the English language is used to help us break down and understand the way we use the language. Of course, it is important for you to understand how to use the language, because when you understand how to use the language correctly, then you can communicate your ideas with clarity, and you can communicate your ideas in the manner that gets things done in the right way. When we are writing, we try to build something, a character, setting, atmosphere, etc. Adverbs, adjectives, and verbs are used to describe an object and an action. They are used to give life to what we are describing, and that is really very important. In all walks of life, language is used as a medium of communication. In journalism, in broadcasting, the internet as it is today, YouTube, Google, social media platforms, all over the globe, language is used. And of course, I can't imagine how human relationship could have functioned properly without the use of language. Virtually all aspects of the content you find online and offline consists of language used in one form or the other. And that's how important the use of language is. Whether you are in the educational sector, in the entertainment sector, in the science and technology sector, in whichever sector you find yourself, in whichever field of life you find yourself, you need language to communicate your ideas. And when you communicate your ideas, you need feedback. And feedback cannot take place unless communication is effective. When communication is effective, you expect feedback. And so that explains the importance of grammar. All right? Now let's go a step further. Why grammar is important? 7. Why learn grammar? People are often judged on their speaking and writing skills. Do you really agree? Do you really agree? I remember a notable American activist, an African American activist, he said, "You do not judge a man by the color of his skin, but by the content of his mind." And of course, I remember the greatest scholar that ever lived and who also still lives. I'm talking about Jesus Christ, the Savior. He said that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So, and he is referring to language because when you open your mouth to communicate your ideas, you use a language. So, the content of your mind cannot be made known except you express this content through a given language. You use language to express the content of your mind. And if people will judge you by the content of your mind, of course, they will judge you based on how effectively or otherwise you have communicated the content of your mind. So we are looking at it here. People are often judged on their speaking and writing skills. Do you really agree? If you agree, that really underlines and underscores the importance of grammar. Then let's look at the second thing that is mentioned here. If a person has a large vocabulary and follows standard grammar rules, he or she is treated differently than someone whose vocabulary is limited and who ignores basic rules. Do you agree? You know, when people speak and they, their, their English is bad, all right? I read somewhere someone says nobody likes to read bad English. So if you own a website or a blog and you write, you know, and your grammar is poor, and when people read it, of course, they discover that even the meaning you intend is not properly communicated. And there is ambiguity created here and there in a manner that makes the interpretation of what you are saying quite difficult. People will withdraw from your website or blog. So I quite agree with this submission here. Then let's look at the third one. People whose language skills aren't polished are often passed over for jobs or promotions, even when they have all of the other necessary qualifications. Do you really agree? You know? So that actually is not far from the truth, because even from the point when you are applying for a job, you need to submit your application. And when you attend an interview, people listen to you and they want to hear you express your thoughts and communicate your ideas with clarity. So if you have one thing in mind and you say a different thing, you know, when you speak, of course, that does not really help your cause. You should be able to communicate your ideas and convey your intended meaning very powerfully. And when you do that, of course, it increases your chances of being generally accepted. So this underscores the importance of grammar. This explains why we learn grammar. I hope I'm communicating in this video, and I hope you are getting to really understand why you need to improve your grammar. Now let's look at why grammar is important. 8. Why is it important to study grammar? A lot of people tell you it's not important because especially these days when people believe that all that matters is, to find ways of making money in a very quick manner. Of course, that also is good to make money. But what people do not understand is that improving your grammar will even improve your chances of making money, especially if your job is related to communicating your ideas with clarity. What I am doing in this video is related to my job. I am a content writer, and I've written a number of books in printed form and also in electronic form. And that is really my field of specialization. And I have personally discovered that I need a good grammar of the English language to be able to communicate my ideas. I don't know about you, but I believe strongly that improving your grammar can also help you to improve the quality of your delivery in whatever you are doing. If you are working in an organization, from time to time, you might be called upon to write a report, and even in your personal relationship with other people, sometimes you may need to send an email, even a text message. All right? These aspects or instances of interpersonal communication also help to, lend credence to the fact that grammar is really important. Now, let's look at this. Why is it important to study grammar? And this scholar is saying, grammar makes it possible for us to put words and sentences together. When we speak a language, we always do grammar. That's a very, very apt way of putting it quite clearly. That when we speak a language, we always do grammar. Whenever you put words and phrases together and you utter certain expressions aimed at communicating your ideas to people, you are doing grammar, right? So, grammar enables you to communicate your ideas with clarity. And if that is true, then, of course, grammar is important. And then, speaking further, this scholar says, grammar also makes it possible for us to talk about language, and in doing so, we learn a lot about the human mind. Of course, this scholar is tilting towards the postulation by certain theorists that there is a close relationship between language and thought. That when we think in a given language. And I also agree, because when you communicate your ideas, you are communicating your thoughts, which is why in English, we define a sentence as a group of words that contains a finite verb and expresses a complete thought. So language enables you to express your thoughts. And when people give voice to their thoughts, then people say they are thinking aloud. You say what you have in mind. You are thinking aloud. You communicate your thoughts through the use of language. And so there's a close relationship between the use of language and our thoughts. And so it is really important. And like this scholar said, Grammar also makes it possible for us to talk about language, and in doing so, we learn a lot about the human mind. This is actually true. All right? So let's go further. Just a few thoughts on the benefits of good English grammar. Effective communication. With good grammar, you communicate your ideas more effectively, as already said. By expressing complete ideas through the correct use of words. When you use words correctly, then you express complete ideas. You know, when your grammar is poor, bad, or inadequate, of course, you lack the ability to express complete ideas. Sometimes you have the idea of what you want to say, but you lack the linguistic competence to express your ideas completely. And that mars your communication. And most of the time, this leads to communication breakdown. You have an idea of what to say, but you cannot say it the way you have it in your mind. That constitutes a setback. That constitutes a communication breakdown. So using words in their proper positions in a sentence. Now let's look at this example. A combination of words like beautifully Rose dressed is. This does not make sense, does it? Now, why is it incorrect, an incorrect sentence? I leave this as an assignment to you if you are watching this video. Take a look at the expression. Let me underline it here. Beautifully Rose dressed is. Beautifully Rose dressed is. Does it make complete sense? If not, why is it an incorrect sentence? I'd like to hear from you. If you have comments, you can pause this video at this point and really think about this. Beautifully Rose dressed is. Why is this? This is a group of words, quite all right. But there is something about it that does not add up. The word order, if you like, then how good is your grammar? Will you be able to rearrange these words to make a grammatically correct sentence? I'd like to get feedback from you in the comments section below. And what we are saying here is that using words in their proper positions in a sentence, is really very important. And this belongs to the realm of grammar. Grammar enables you to arrange words in their proper positions within the sentence structure so that you will be able to convey complete meaning and express a complete thought and convey your message or your intended meaning with clarity. All right? So those are the benefits of good English grammar. Okay, let's go further. Well, we have mentioned a few problems of poor grammar or bad grammar, if you like. The first one is a breakdown in communication, which I had earlier mentioned. Then the second one is a poor impression of the speaker. We have had instances where the president of a country, said something and people picked holes in what he has said. And, the way he said it, because he didn't communicate in good English or with good grammar, of course, that offended the sensibilities of a lot of people. In other words, it led to a poor impression of the president, you know. Number three, a source of embarrassment or scandal. This is related to number two, all right? Sometimes someone makes a statement which, of course, constitutes a scandal or an embarrassment, and it is simply as a result of poor grammar. Now, let's look at the example we earlier saw. If, for poor knowledge of the English grammar and the inability to punctuate well, somebody writes, "Let's eat grandpa." Of course, if a celebrity makes this statement, it constitutes an embarrassment. It becomes a piece of news, and a lot of people will laugh at it, and it becomes a scandal. It becomes an embarrassment. All right? So poor grammar can become a source of embarrassment or scandal, especially to someone who is well known in the society. And people expect him to be able to communicate his ideas with clarity. So when he comes up with something that is bad English, then it becomes a source of embarrassment. Number four, a cause of bad business. This cannot be overemphasized. I earlier hinted that if you own a website or a blog, or you write a proposal or anything that you expect people to buy into it, but you come with bad English, of course, that can lead people to withdrawing from your website or blog, and that will result in bad business. Of course, sometimes inadequate knowledge of a language can lead one into reaching an agreement or a contract that is a huge disadvantage to them. There could just be a clause that actually becomes your undoing in a business because you did not have adequate knowledge of grammar to know that that particular clause inserted in the contract where you have vested interest is really working against your interest, and you sign the contract or you sign the agreement. It can lead to bad business. It can lead to a huge loss of revenue. Then loss of marks in exams. This is quite obvious. If you write an essay, an article, a letter, or whatever you are asked to write in an English exam, and you write it in a manner that is really poor and full of grammatical blunders, you lose marks. And this could lead to your overall failure in the entire exam. So problems of poor grammar, there are many and varied. When we have only listed 5, but there is a myriad of problems that arise from poor grammar. All right? Now let's take a look at the grammatical units of English. Learning the grammatical units gives you a picture of the English structure, how all the parts of English combine to form the English structure. Now, I've uploaded a video which discusses the basics of English grammar. And if you refer to that video, you will learn how the grammatical units are interconnected. But when we look at this in an ascending order, morphemes combine to form a word, words combine to form a phrase, phrases combine to form a clause, and clauses combine to form a sentence. These are the units of grammar at a glance. And when you understand the structure of the English language, of course, you will be able to communicate uh, your ideas in English quite easily. And that's why we learn grammar. All right. Well, let's move a little bit further and see some other things. Okay. How much of English grammar do you know? Well, let's face the facts. You know, this particular section gives us the big picture of English grammar, because here we have different aspects of English grammar. When we are talking about English grammar, it is not just one thing. It is an all-encompassing subject. It's a topic that is all-encompassing. You know, various aspects of the language come into play, you know. So English grammar, you know, includes the basic structures. When we look at the sentence, the phrases, the clauses, basic punctuation, advanced punctuation, the apostrophe, all these are included, the basic structures. You know, they are all aspects of grammar. Because when we look at the parts of speech, articles, nouns, pronouns, adjectives, verbs, adverbs, conjunctions, prepositions, these are all aspects of grammar. Of course, parts of speech or word classes, if you like, are the building blocks for English speech and writing and form part of the basics of English grammar. Then another aspect of English grammar is concord, subject and verb agreement, group of words as subject, subject governing more than one verb, noun and pronoun agreement. You know, concord, because the majority of grammatical errors arise from violating the rules of concord. In a different video, I have discussed 25 rules of concord. You can, you know, uh, look for that video. You will find a link inserted below in the description section. You will find a link that will give you access to the video that discusses the 25 rules of concord. Then we have direct and indirect speech. Of course, we have figures of speech, figures of comparisons, sound devices, contradictions, exaggeration and understatement, and others, you know, figures of speech. These are aspects of English grammar. So how much of English grammar do you know? Now, in this video, you know, I want you to, as you watch this video, I want you to take a look at, you know, the aspects of English grammar, and then ask yourself, which of these aspects do you know as at this moment, and which areas do you need to really learn, you know, if you are really desirous of improving your grammar of the English language. Learning the basics word classes. I just want to give you insight into where you could possibly make your starting point. There's always a starting point in everything, depending on your stage, the stage in which you are. Are you at the beginner stage, or at the intermediate stage, or at the advanced stage of English learning? There's always a starting point, you know, and it is important that if you want to really improve your English grammar, you start from the basics. You start with the basics. And one of the basic aspects is the word classes, or what people traditionally call the parts of speech. Now, let's look at nouns, just one of the parts of speech. Traditional grammarians have listed 8 parts of speech: nouns, pronouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, prepositions, conjunctions, and interjections. In modern linguistics, adjectives are further subdivided into the adjectives and the determiners. All right. Then some scholars have disagreed with the classification of interjections as a part of speech, and they insist that interjections don't have the features that are common to other parts of speech. Well, that belongs to the realm of scholarly arguments. But what is important here is for us to try and master the various aspects of English grammar in a manner that will give us, enough linguistic competence to be able to communicate our ideas with clarity. That is all that is really important. Let's take a look at one of the word classes, which is nouns. Now, you look at nouns, you discover that there are various aspects of the nouns that you need to learn. For instance, we have the proper nouns. The proper nouns, give us a special name, the name of a particular person, such as David, June, London. David is a particular person, is the proper name, the specific name, the particular name given to a particular person. There are many persons, but David is a particular person. June is the name given to a particular month. There are 12 months in a year. So month is the name common to all of them. January is a month. February is a month. March is a month. June, July, August, all these are months. But June is the proper, the name given to a particular month, and that is why it is called a proper noun. London is the name given to a particular place. There are many places, even in the United Kingdom, all right? You have other places, but London is the name of a particular place in UK, all right? Then we talk of the common nouns. You can see that that's a general name. When you talk of a boy, there are many boys, many cats, many schools, all right? But when you give a particular boy the name David, that becomes a proper noun. But when you are talking of boys, that's a common noun. Then you can subdivide the common nouns into countable and uncountable, or count and uncount noun. Then you now look at, whether when you look at an uncountable noun, you see that milk cannot be counted. Of course, you can count boys, cats, and schools. Then this subdivides into singular and plural. An umbrella, 5 umbrellas, all right? We are just talking about one aspect of the word classes, nouns. Then we have the abstract nouns, and when we look at abstract noun, we are looking at those things, names of things we cannot touch or we can't see or touch. For example, we can look at something like beauty, danger, anger. You can't touch it. You can't see it. And it's generally an idea. Of course, some of the abstract nouns can be counted like an idea, all right? an idea, you can talk of an idea, and you can talk of ideas. But you cannot count hatred. You can't talk of a hatred or hatreds. Then you can talk of an idea or ideas. All right? So that is about the abstract nouns. Then we have other types of nouns that are collective, groups. We can talk of a bunch of keys, you know. So that's just about one of the word classes, and we have different other word classes that gives you, a picture of the basics of English grammar and possibly where you can make your starting point. All right? So, having said that, let's look at other important aspects. Now we come to how to improve your English grammar. Of course, here we have a pictorial presentation by someone, 7 ways to improve your grammar, and one of them, there are different ways, of course, and we shall be looking at different perspectives to how to improve your English grammar. One of the ways is through study, reference, you know, joining a class if you like. Reading is another aspect, you know, reading, then checking your spellings, being careful to always look up the spelling of words, because spelling is also an aspect of English grammar. Of course, this can be also linked to the use of a dictionary that will help you. Whenever you come across an unfamiliar word, you look it up in the dictionary. That will help you to check the spelling, check the meaning, and a good dictionary will also give you the phonetic symbols, and so that helps you to also look up how to articulate the sound, how to pronounce the word. All right? Then a good dictionary will give you examples of how to use that word correctly in English sentences. So, that is a way of improving your grammar. Then active verbs, you can make a list of the verbs. Verbs are action words, active verbs, Well, that's one approach. Then wordiness, short, concise, reduce, One of the ways of really improving your grammar is to practice writing, writing. You write often, and if you write, you can give to your teacher if you are a student, or you give to some people are more knowledgeable about English grammar to really correct what you have written. When you practice writing, from time to time to communicate your ideas, of course, you improve your English grammar. And the other one has to do with your reader. Reading and all that. So that's one way of improving your English grammar. Then we have, in this particular one, how to improve your English grammar too, we have also a set of propositions, a set of tips on how you can improve your grammar. And the first thing here is reading, listening, writing, and speaking. Of course, these are all learning skills. Even if we look at how you acquired your mother tongue from infancy, you discover that, of course, you started with listening, and then followed by speaking. As an infant, you grew up listening to people speak, in your environment. Then at a point, you began to mimic the sounds you have always heard over time. and that is called the babbling stage. From the babbling stage, you now learned how to articulate your sounds and you began to speak meaningful words, all right? Then, of course, when you are enrolled in a school, you begin to read. And of course, you listen to in class as you read. You combine reading with listening, and then writing comes as, uh, as part of the learning skills. But then not until you have really listened and read and spoken, writing tends to come at last. Then using subject-verb structure, differentiating questions from statements. These are different ways of practicing how to improve your grammar. Then understanding parts of speech, we earlier mentioned that. Practicing verb tenses, that's another aspect. Of course, I have uploaded videos on the parts of speech. I also have uploaded videos on how to use your tenses. There's also another video dealing on sequence of tenses, all right? Then knowing words beyond their meaning, learning phrasal verbs, doing grammar exercises, quizzing yourself. These are ways of improving your English grammar. So let's look at other ways suggested how to improve your English grammar. And here we find reading English books. This already was hinted. Imitating written English, memorizing new words, checking your own writing, practicing every day, having your writing assessed. These we had earlier hinted, and these are ways in which you can really improve your English grammar. So I hope you have learned certain things from this video. We have been looking at how to improve your English grammar, and we addressed the very critical question, how good is your grammar? I believe that having watched this video, by now you should be able to answer the question, how good is your grammar? Is your grammar good? Is it bad? Is it poor? Is it inadequate? Of course, I have shown you how to improve your English grammar. And you can always pause at any point in this video and take notes, all right? And there are other video lectures uploaded on this channel that will help you to improve your English grammar. This is where we draw the curtain in today's lesson. We have been able to show you how to improve your English grammar, and I believe that the lessons you have learned, the benefits you have derived from this video will help you to take steps towards improving your grammar. I wish you well. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you are interested in videos like this. If you enjoyed this video, please leave your comments in the comment section below. If you have any suggestions or you have a topic in mind that you would like us to discuss in subsequent videos, do not hesitate to leave your comments below as well. See you in the next video, and bye for now.